Call this meeting to order. Tonight, we're going to be led in the pledge by Mr. Gary Clardy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clardy. On our moment of silence tonight, if we could, I'd like us to remember the family of one of our teachers, Mr. Terry Pageant, who passed away a few weeks ago. So if we can just keep him in our thoughts and prayers and everything. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. This is our last meeting for the month of July, so we covered quite a bit of ground last night. Hopefully tonight may move a little bit faster. So, approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Blair and a second by Mr. Young. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Young and a second by Mr. Eakes. Any further discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. No visitors. All right, Mr. Odom, number 7.
Number 7, we have one introduction tonight, Miss Ann Haley, if you'll stand up for us, who is now the principal of John Coleman Elementary School, all of about 2 weeks or maybe 3, something like that. And she's been assistant principal at David Urey a while. She's also at Wilson Elementary and all too. So looking really forward. She's be a really good person for John Coleman. You want to say anything?
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm excited.
Yeah, I asked her husband Bruce what her level of anticipation was. He said on 1 to 10 about 9.5.
We're busy getting it finished.
No doubt you'll do very, very well.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Number 8.
Mr. Murray will be here. He has a family illness, and so he'll be here for the next one. We'll welcome him to the next one. Number 8, I think, is Mr. Clark.
Ms. Marshall is going to get this presentation up here, so. Well, we've got quite a bit of things going on. Like I said last night, with the new principals we have, we're doing quite a bit of work trying to get them off to the right start. But we have Smyrna Primary going, and everything's going well there. The classroom section, which consists of 6 classrooms, will be opening at the time of school. They're in the process of putting the finishing touches on those right now, on the classroom. The library or media center is probably 80% complete at this time, and it will be opening around fall break. So we're moving along pretty well up there. And here are a few pictures. This picture of the media center. Another elevation. This is the interior of it, so you can see how it's come along. These pictures were put up last week, early in the week, or taken early in the week. So when we get down to the end like this, things start closing in pretty rapidly. This is the classroom section. As you can see, it's farther along and just about ready. This is the interior. The VCT is down in wax now, and the ceiling is in this hallway. One of the classrooms. And then the Eagleville Phase 1 is ready to go. They're currently relocating transformer and line, getting it out of the way of the new classroom addition. And we had a groundbreaking ceremony out there. That's some participants of that. You can see they moved quite a bit of dirt behind them there with those shovels.
You thought we could probably have the footer done by that evening, didn't you?
I thought if y'all get busy, you probably could have had them done about 3 o'clock. And then Blackman Middle School Annex. As you know, that building won't be ready until in September, and the reason being is because of all the freezing temperatures that we had this year and a slowdown in the work. And of course, we got this started late anyway due to funding. So I've got several pictures, and some of these pictures were taken yesterday and some were taken a week ago, so you can see the difference in progress. This is the cafeteria area. You can see this, you'll be able to see the difference. That's the HVAC in the new cafeteria area. This is part of that. You can see the tower going down there at that time. This is the section, that's the gym on the far back or to the right of the screen there, and the classroom, 2-story classroom addition. So all the bricks finished. Now the windows are going in. That's the cafeteria area, exterior of it. Here's the roofing on the gym and classroom section. As you recall, we went to the white roofing to cut down on the solar gain on those to have a little bit more energy efficiency. Outside of that building, there's quite a few of these. The inside coming along nicely. We're getting up those marker boards and things. This is the cafeteria. You can see the serving line is in back there. And of course, this will be open when school opens. Serving line. This is in the office area of that part. Then of 2013-14 capital improvements, the Blackman High School re-roof is 100% complete now. And of course, we have a section in there for 14-15 capital projects that will complete the entire roof except for the new section we built on just a few years ago. So we've had problems with that roof ever since the school has been started because it wasn't, attention wasn't given it early on when the school was completed. So now we've got basically a new roof on that. You can see this roof. It's a white roof, again, that we're using now. And we'll complete the rest of that roof in this new school year budget. Then Oakland Riverdale elevated gym seats. As you can recall, we tried to get this done for several years, and we finally, after about 5 or 6 years, managed to get it funded and get it done. And this is the Oakland chairs that are complete. And of course, the Riverdale purple, or maroon, I guess is the correct color of that. Then all that we lack on the 2013-14 capital improvements, we have $210,000 in there for the Eagleville sewer, where we're gonna have to put some tanks and things in so we can pump it out into the new plant out there. And then we also have some fees and things we gotta pay out of that. But we're looking forward to getting started on our new budget this year and get a lot of stuff done, and I'm going to show you that. If you'll notice on this particular budget, there is $2.2 million in roofs, and then $90,000 for a integrated control system for the HVAC, so we can manage the energy at Blackman Middle School from a central location over here. And it's amazing how much money that saves us in those things. But the point, and we'll go into this on a little bit on the strategic plan, is the roofs are beginning to require, actually we need about $3.5 million a year just to get those roofs and keep up with them and keep them under control. So that leaves very little to go into the other parking lots, tracks, just HVAC, all of those kinds of things. So we're pulling most of that now out of maintenance fund, and it is straining the budget in that area. So anytime you can help us get some funds to do some of our capital improvements, we'd appreciate that. And we're going to put Mr. Nipper on the spot when the time comes to help us out over there at the county commission.
Let's hope so.
Then we're going to take a look at all of, for the 13-14 school year, we had in technology systems, hardware and support, our work orders totaled 11,553 or something like that. And we did all of those within the year except 269 of those which were open that moved into our new year. So those can be anywhere from replacing a mouse at the school level upon request, or it can be cabling a school. So there's quite a disparity in between work orders. They can be huge or they can be very small. And then the maintenance work orders, we got 7,624 in last year and completed all of them except 77 that carried over. Now, these may range from putting a piece of glass in a window or changing the hardware out on the door or putting in a $200,000 chiller. So those things can range too, so you can imagine the amount of work we're getting done out of the maintenance. And that brings us to a point of a request that the board member Holiday requested, that we honor the maintenance department in such a way, and Mr. Curley is with us here to tonight. Ken, come on up and let's, as they say down home, let's brag on you a little bit. Ken's the director of maintenance. How long you been there now, Ken?
I've been with this maintenance for 35 years.
And how long you been as director?
Be 10 years this year.
Okay, and Kenneth just became director of maintenance when I came. He hadn't been there long, and we worked together well, and he's really doing an excellent job over there. He has everything under control. He's got very efficient. Everyone's working very efficient. He's made some excellent hires, The politics and maintenance have kind of gone away, and everybody's expected to do their job, and that's what happens these days. And Kenneth is a reason behind all of that. And as Mr. Holliday had said, all summer long, maintenance, that's a big time of year for maintenance. We get a lot of things that need to be done while there's no one in the building. And maintenance is working all of those issues. The custodians, of course, are kind of under the umbrella of maintenance. So we handle all of their supplies and everything for all the stripping of the floors and keep an eye on those and make sure they get done. And then during the school year, maintenance is quietly working in the schools to not disturb anyone, but to keep the schools going and keep everything up and running like they should. So we just want to thank Kenneth for the great job he's doing. Thank all of the leads over there. Kenneth, who are your leads?
Junior Douglas, Mike Walls, Tom Hines, and I went blank on that one.
Jeff Thompson.
Jeff Thompson, HVAC, and then Stephen Broyles over at Warehouse. And they do an excellent job. The whole crew does it awful well. And I want to thank Gary too for supporting us and the board for everything in the last 10 years. It takes everybody. The ladies in the office does an excellent job. So it's a group effort from everybody. So they try hard.
So at that point, I'd like to hear comment from the board.
Well, I'll kick it off because I kind of spurred this along, and indeed, I think it's outstanding the work that the maintenance department and custodial staff are able to do. We always get compliments about our buildings, but the most impressive compliment is, I can't believe this building is 15, 20, 25 years old. It looks like it's 3 years old. That type of pride and performance is really, it's a foundation that allows everything else to happen. If we didn't have a facility that we could take pride in, that instilled in us the kind of respectful atmosphere where everyone's conducting themselves in the way that they should, and the students are inspired to learn, none of that can happen in a facility that's in shambles. And you are absolutely the foundation of our system, and we appreciate you immensely.
Thank you, man.
I remember visiting with Mrs. Holton at Eagleville School when I first came on the board, and just talking about the different aspects of running a school, and talked about the maintenance part of it. And she just, off the cuff, said, years ago, we would ask for something and we'd wait, and eventually it would get completed. She said, today, I have to make sure that I have time for them to come in and do it, because if I ask for it, it's completed immediately. And so I think that's the highest compliment you can get, is that they have to gauge when they ask you to come, because they know you're coming quick. So that's, again, quite the compliment. And thank you for the incredible job you and your staff do on a daily basis, Mr. Curley.
I think the teamwork that you spoke of is a great example of the job you do and the job that Mr. Clardy does, this whole board, but particularly where it's so noticeable, as Mr. Holliday has said, the teamwork, getting it done, and really feeling it. You sound serious when you say, hey, we got a good team and they're working hard. So we appreciate that, and I know that the parents, the students, the teachers appreciate that as well.
Let me say, as someone who was an electrician and an electrician's helper, I can appreciate people pulling wire throughout the building. I mean, it's not easy. You might think, well, it's easy to move this computer across the room, but sometimes you have to pull that cable over there, and that can be hard. And I have such appreciation for you and all your workers that I know what they go through on a day-to-day basis. fighting the cold, sometimes outside, fighting the heat for sure. So just want to let you know I appreciate you.
I'd like to just add that out of all the county departments, I hear less complaints about our county school system than I do any department we have. So that's a good compliment. I appreciate you taking the lead there and keeping the politics out of it. Not many departments can say that. You guys have done a good job there.
You know, Rutherford County school system is known for having high expectations. And it says a lot for the maintenance department meeting those high expectations now. And that goes due to the leadership, and we certainly appreciate that. As a former principal in the system several years, I guess Ms. Barnes might can remember seeing her principal on top of the roof many times when I was there. And it is so refreshing to hear principals now talk about the maintenance being done and they work orders being called in and a job being completed. Not only is completed, but it's been completed successfully. And so job well done, deeply appreciated.
Most people do not realize the other things too, like they look for ways when they change out ballast, or you've got new light fixtures in here, things that save money, operate more cheaply, they're able to do. Your job is 24/7. You remember when it was raining and very cold back in the winter, he had people down there all night bailing water and dealing with that at Thurman Francis when we were doing it. So it is Kenneth, but it's also his staff that just willingly jumps in and does it. And we probably need to honor different departments around this building that's doing so many things too. But you know, I absolutely appreciate it. It's one of those things that when it's done really well, you almost take it for granted.
Amen.
True.
I'd just like to say, Mr. Carter, Mr. Curley, that since I've been on the board, that I haven't come across anything that y'all aren't able to do yet. And I think it's, the general public may know or may not know is how many licensed electricians you've got, plumbers. You know, I noticed on our agenda tonight, we're even in the concrete pouring business, it looks like. So I'd just like to say I appreciate you, the amount of money you save the taxpayers, and do a great job.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that they do a great job. We got a lot of talented people, and we appreciate the support of the board, because when I first came, we had a struggle to get the funds we needed. Everyone stepped up to the table. They helped us with the budget. They helped us support us on the projects that needed to get done to get things up to par so we would not be too far behind the 8 ball, and they continue to do that, and we really appreciate that support. And also over the next few years, the funding is going to be a larger and larger issue as the newer buildings we have move into teenage. And so we're going to need that support even more in those areas to keep the same standards in the buildings that we have now. So we just thank all y'all for that.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Oldham, number 9.
Number 9 under facilities is our technology internet filter security system. The technology department is requesting approval for a Dell Sonic Wall appliance. Dell Sonic Wall's management and reporting solutions provide a comprehensive architecture for centrally creating and managing security policies, providing real-time monitoring, traffic analysis, and delivering intuitive reports. The Dell Sonic Wall is a need to manage the bandwidth demands by faculty and students to ensure a safe and productive use of internet resources. The cost of the Dell Sonic Wall is $98,866.45. This includes 3 years of maintenance and support. Recommend approval. Motion to approve the purchase of Dell Sonic Wall as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Nicker and a second by Mr. Holliday. Any further discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number B.
B is the Wilson Elementary School canopy. Principal John Dinkins has requested permission to construct a new canopy at Wilson Elementary School. The canopy will be approximately 15 feet by 30 feet and used for drop-off and pickup. It will be a great help to protect students from the elements during inclement weather. The canopy will be placed adjacent to the gym on the Angie Drive side of the school building. School funds of approximately $3,500 will be used to purchase and erect the canopy. The concrete work will be completed by the Rutherford County Schools Maintenance Department. Recommend approval. Motion to approve construction of a 15 feet by 30 feet aluminum canopy at Wilson Elementary School as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Young and a second by Mr. Blair. Any further discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 10.
Number 10 is an information only. It's the transportation summary for 2013-14 by our transportation department again, whose phones have been ringing regularly this week. Lots of calls. You know, what's my bus? The transportation department ended the 2013-14 school year transporting a total of 26,021 Rutherford County students. 608 of them were special education and 25,413 were regular education students, comparing to 2012-13 when we transported 25,278 students, which is a 2.9% increase. We also transported 225 ATLAS students, which is Academic Time Leads to Achieving Students, Rutherford County Schools Assistance Program for Families in Transition, in 2013-14 versus 204 in 2012-13, or a 9.3% increase in this group. We currently have 237 buses under contract. 32 of them are special education and 205 are transit buses. All buses are inspected annually by the State of Tennessee Department of Safety, and a sticker denoting compliance is attached to each bus. The districts own 32 activity buses, which are also inspected by the State of Tennessee Department of Safety. We have 239 regular bus drivers, 105 substitute bus drivers. There are 90 other school district employees who hold a valid certified driver's license, a CDL. This equates to 434 drivers that must be monitored for drug testing and TDOT physical requirements. For the school year 2013-14, we had 2 personal injury accidents and 17 property damage accidents for a total of 19 accidents, compared to 2012-13 when we had 2 personal injury accidents and 22 property damage accidents for a total of 24, or a 20.8% decrease. They were today transporting teachers between Siegel Middle and Siegel High School for the around 1,100 to 1,200 people attending the conference out there. And they were, since we have to have both buildings, they were transporting teachers and administrators from one building to the other.
I just like, I know we spoke on some of this last night. I'd just like to say the last paragraph where we got property damages. If you really think about it, as much as these buses on the road now, I would think that'd be hit backing into a mailbox or simple stuff like that, correct? So, I mean, if you think about it, we've got through the whole year, and with all the buses we run, 22, accidents or whatever, it's a pretty small number, as much as these buses are on the road. So, I think your people be commended for that.
Yeah, Mr. Oldham asked me
million miles. We run last year right at 3 million miles.
That's good. I commend you and your department and all the drivers for a great job. Anybody else? Number 11.
Number 11 is appointment of hearing officers for teacher termination hearings. Board policy and state law require the board to maintain a list of qualified individuals who have expressed a willingness to serve as hearing officers for teacher termination hearings. The following is a list of individuals from the Tennessee School Board Association list who expressed their willingness to serve in this capacity. They are Thomas Stovall, Loretta Shipley, Jane Wheatcraft, and Toby Gilly. Recommend approval. Motion to approve the list of potential hearing officer as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Blair and a second by Mr. Eakes. Any further discussion on this?
Mr. Odom shared with us last evening that we're fortunate we don't have any of these circumstances at the present, and this is a procedural action by the board to have these people in place in the event that there is need. And then we also discussed the potential of Toby Gilly's candidacy as judge, and that we may lose him. He has served in this capacity in the past and done an excellent job.
Anybody else? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We discussed number 12. Anybody have any more questions on 12?
I wanted to say a word of compliment. There were so many things that Mr. Sandvig addressed yesterday in our work session about the Affordable Care Act and our compliance with it. And time after time, his statement was, we're already compliant. We're already compliant. We're already compliant. And the foresight and planning, the anticipation that has been shown there, and very likely the extra commitment by Rutherford County school system and Rutherford County General to take care of our employees and make sure that we have the right and appropriate benefits that are needed by a family. I think it speaks very, very well of our system that we're not in a crisis trying to step up to this Affordable Care Act. That being said, we've got to keep a check on it and make sure, because we certainly learned at our summer legal conference about the extreme nature of the penalties for being out of compliance. So compliments to Mr. Sandvig and his staff, Ms. Barnes as well from the HR side, of all the ways that we're compliant in this changing atmosphere.
And that's probably the key. It continues to be a changing environment with this healthcare reform. So we have to be ready to react whenever these changes are deemed appropriate. Because you talk about living documents. This is, I don't know if we'd call it a living document, but it certainly is a different document with the way it's being presented and implemented. So thank you for watching it the way you do.
Anybody else? All right, number 13, general discussion.
I wanted to say, in addition to the compliments that we have for our maintenance department and custodial staff and for Mr. Clardy, it doesn't happen without excellent leadership, and the board's one employee is Mr. Odom, and so a measure of all of that good performance, Mr. Odom, compliments to you as well for inspiring and leading a good maintenance and custodial staff as well, and don't want to leave you out as we compliment the good things.
It's a team
It
approach.
is.
We have a good team.
That's a nice attaboy.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I've got one thing, if
Okay.
no board member has anything else. You saw probably, if you could pass some that way, we don't have your packets out tonight. The state sent messages today, they'll be releasing some data tomorrow, dealing with accountability, that sort of thing. So I thought you might, as board members, find it kind of interesting to see this. So when you look at it on the upper left-hand corner, subject and grade levels, Those are the annual measurable objectives, achievement-wise, that they will release tomorrow. That'll be, and that's what the commissioner is going to talk about primarily, is across the state of Tennessee. He mentioned it a little bit earlier. You're seeing a little bit of decline in reading language arts across the whole state, which probably is more testing associated than anything else, because it's about the same everywhere. The right-hand side is part of the things that came with the waiver and the original No Child Left Behind bills. It's called the gap closures. And that's the categories and the subjects and gap closures that are, and I don't, he said in the correspondence I received from him today, they were not going to talk much about gap closures tomorrow. They're going to talk more about achievement. He has I believe it's a 10 a.m. press conference or something like that that'll be covered. So they're not going to talk as much about gap closures. But another piece that you may not be totally aware of, and you can see 11 of the achievement targets there for Rutherford County and 16 gap closures for Rutherford County. Another thing that they track that shows up in this database, at the bottom, subjects and graduation rate. So for even that first one here, like 3rd through 8th grade reading language, RLA, you can take that number over there, and each one of those 13 things on the right-hand side is for each one of those on the left-hand side. So when you look at just the data points that we're talking about here, there's 118 data points when you add these up for all the categories that are involved. And I haven't included anything for value added, nor the end-of-course assessments that are not accountability or assessments, or any of the writing or anything else. It is a massive amount of data points tracking education now. Maybe we've gone too far sometimes. I want to think to myself that how much do we really need to know? But it's an enormous amount of data. So tomorrow when you hear it, you're going to hear one little piece of it. But I just wanted you as board members to kind of be aware of what all's behind this and what goes into the other assignment. They did say that probably they would not release, it would remain embargoed value added until August 18th, I think was the date they had for that. Sometimes a lot of the gap things do not come out till the report card typically comes out around the 1st of November. So it's a gradual release over time.
Sometimes with this type of information, you and Mr. Zago get a little preview as to how we've performed. Is that the case here?
We've made 9 out of 11 of those achievement targets. Not as many over on the gaps in dealing with that. That's a problem everywhere. One of your issues with gap closures is if you're achieving and the whole group is moving upward, remember to close a gap, you got to move up as much as the other group moved, plus close your gap. And the way they judge whether you make or miss is a statistical measure, but it goes anywhere. It's typically somewhere right around 2.5% to 3% that you have to grow each year. So a lot of, it can be less than that in some statistical pieces, but basically from the timeline they set, somewhere in that neighborhood, 2.5% to 3% that you're supposed to grow each year. New test this year, which not even here, chemistry was included. We got some fantastic value added in chemistry. I'm be interested to see how we rank in the state in that. But we just got to wait till pieces of it come out to tell.
Mr. Odom, you talk about the amount of data that we have, and I will say that I think one of the keys of our system's success has been your ability through the years to train the principals and the coaches, the academic coaches, to be able to use this data effectively. The fact that this data exists is one type of investment, but to invest in our personnel and give them the ability to digest, understand, and apply this data to the classroom and make it effective, that is my perspective why we are succeeding so well in Rutherford County and why our students are achieving so much. I think that that's a commitment that other systems are not making,
And I think it's a commitment that our system has got to continue to make. So even though this data seems overwhelming, I want to encourage our system to continue to make use of it and not push it away, because I do feel like it has an impact. Our principals don't have to spend as much time on the roof, but instead they have to become statisticians to be able to understand all of this stuff.
There's another interesting statistics that because you remember Mr. Duke, Mr. Zago coming and doing a presentation on the response to intervention, that sort of thing. We had pilot schools this year and non-pilot schools, and looking at the economically disadvantaged, which for us, you know, for some of our schools, that's 70–80% or so of your populations you're doing. But when we compared reading the percent of schools who made their AMOs for economically disadvantaged in our RTI pilot schools was 30-something% higher than the non-pilot schools. Wow. And in math, it was like 28%. So we have, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as the year goes on, but that ability to intervene quickly for students, and it was expensive. We talked about it as a coach, it's 2 interventionists and that sort of thing. But I mean, what's it worth, I guess, to see the kids become proficient and advanced in that? But as more of this rolls out, we'll share some of that with you. But it was just really exciting to see, hey, we piloted, we got data we kept on both sides, you know, to see that kind of growth. Shared it with the principals, and the ones that didn't have it wanted it right away, and we have it in every school in grades 3 through 8 this year. And actually K through 8 schools all the way through have those. So
You speak of data, and you made the comment that perhaps we've gone too far, and I would second that emotion. I do think that we've gone too far, but maybe in going this far, we can now determine what has been useful. To me, I may be wrong, you tell me if I am, I see this data originating, again, from school teachers, from the classroom teacher. That's where all of this begins, and we pass it along, and I don't know how it gets to Mr. Zago. I just, you know, I'm not in the loop there, but it's amazing to me how much data these teachers have and are required to have on every student, as far as testing goes, as far as questions answered correctly, questions not answered correctly, the targeted achievement codes, if you will, that are required by the state in each grade, proficiencies in topic after topic. So again, it reflects on the system, but this team that's been built of school teachers, principals, administrative staff, all deserve an accolades for doing what's been done here for this county.
this is all part of the TCAP reporting here. This comes from those, be it an intercourse or a TCAP assessments, what they pull all of this particular data for. And we also pull that data too to do our gap cut, do our comparison between our RTI, our non-RTI and our RTI. We actually use that same data. The Commissioner Morrow will probably talk about overall, which kind of broke a pattern. The elementary reading, 3 through 8 reading, had been going up, and there's about a % drop across the state this year. And see, that's so inconsistent with prior trends, plus that doesn't match NAEP, which we were highest, fastest growing in the country. So that's why I tell you, sometimes when you look at data, if something looks a little bit out of place, sometimes there's an anomaly there. I don't know, time will tell with that, but it makes me a little bit suspicious at the test. They call it equating, where they match up the two tests, whether last year's test is equally as difficult as this year's test. If you miss that a little bit, it could swing scores one way or the other. And you suspect there's probably some of that happening.
Anybody else? All right, next meeting, I've got, is August 5th, correct?
Correct. It's a special call.
Special call at 5:30.
Strategic planning.
There's nothing else, we're adjourned.